Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter Show, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorda, and I'm here with my co-host, England's adopted son, Joe Habib. And we got a great show for you today. And if you want to call and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. And we'll be here till about 8:30 tonight, 8:30 or 9 tonight, just depends. Today, we're going to talk about Anthony Joshua versus Andy Ruiz is set. Maybe. We got all the details here. We'll fill you in. Regis Prograis is going to try and pull out of the World Boxing Super Series. And we'll tell you all about that. It's an odd story, man. You've had a lot of people trying to pull out of there. Baranchik tried to pull out. Now Prograis trying to pull out. But first, we get started with DAZN. Antonio Orozco versus Vergil Ortiz Jr., welterweights. Let me tell you what, Vergil Ortiz looked really good. He wins via 6th-round TKO over Antonio Orozco. Ortiz was completely dominated in this fight, man. Or Orozco, was completely dominated in this fight. He's now 14-0 with 14 knockouts. He handled him pretty easy. He was the aggressor from the opening bell. He never let up. He just kind of came forward. His trainer, Robert Garcia, said that he is a future multi-weight world champion. I don't know if that's the case, man, but I tell you what, 14-0 and 14 knockouts, he's got something, and he looks to be really solid, like a solid pressure type fighter. Beeb, what were your thoughts on Vergil Ortiz?
I thought Ortiz won every round except for probably the 5th. Orozco definitely had a style that was a tough style to deal with, and a lot of people do have problems dealing with Orozco. Even when he loses, he still gives everyone a tough fight, and the guy's never been stopped before because he's in your face the whole fight. But Vergil Ortiz did not get rattled in this fight. He dealt with the pressure very well. He was the sharper puncher, and you know, Ortiz is a really sharp puncher, because when he throws his punches, his elbows are tucked and there's no hitch, there's no torque. He just shoots those punches straight from the elbow, and those are the types of punches that are really hard to time and get a read on and gauge properly. So it's hard to stop those shots. Orozco landed a right hand every now and then here and there, but for the most part, Ortiz was landing the sharper, cleaner, harder blows, and he was landing more of the blows. He was definitely landing more shots and outworking Orozco. And the thing that I liked that Ortiz did was he would get on the ropes, but he wouldn't just stand there and try to catch the shots. So a lot of guys will stand on the ropes, try to catch the shots, wait for their opponent to stop punching, and then they'll start punching. What Ortiz did was he'd be on the ropes and he would punch in between Orozco's shots. So he was fighting very well off the ropes. And then after he landed a few shots, he would spin out and he wouldn't stay there long. So I think Ortiz Jr., he's 21 years old, definitely has an upside to him. And I think you could see this guy improve. Even, you know why I'm pretty confident this guy will improve, even though he does have a good base and good foundation to start with? I love what he said after the fight. You know, he said, I still got a lot of work to do. There was things I could have done better. He was really hard on himself. And most people, if they were to grade him, would have given him an A, right? So if essentially this guy got an A and he's still grading himself and being hard on himself and really seems enthusiastic to do better next time out and continue to do better each and every time out, because a lot of fighters say it, but I got the sense that this guy really meant it. I could see and feel the passion, in him when he was giving the interview. So obviously we're gonna be following this kid, and I think that maybe in maybe a year and a half, 2 years down the road, or maybe a year, maybe even a year down the road, he may be ready for a title.
Yeah, I would like to see him get to that 20 win category before they start pushing him toward a title. But and it doesn't seem like they're going to push him too fast. I think they're bringing him along at just the right speed. He's exactly where he needs to be right now.
And it's a progression in opposition. I mean, you had Herrera, who's a solid guy, and Orozco, who's a solid guy. He usually is a tough out for anyone and usually lasts the distance. And he got stopped in 6 rounds. So this is a good feather in Ortiz Jr.'s hat, most definitely, in my opinion. Very impressive performance.
You know, the rough part for me is he's in welterweight.
Yeah.
And
I was thinking the same thing.
You know,
I was thinking the same thing.
And that place is just full of sharks. You know, you got Errol Spence, you got Terrence Crawford, you got Manny Pacquiao swimming around. You still got Keith Thurman nosing around there, Sean Porter. Yeah. You got a lot of killers.
You do.
Now, obviously, he's not ready for any of those guys right now.
Probably not. No.
So, you know, and I think Errol Spence may move up in weight sooner rather than later. But yeah, man, it's a stacked division, but he's doing all the right things, and he looks, like you said, when you look at this kid, you're like, he's got something there. He can be, you know, he's got the right people around him. He's got Robert Garcia around him and everything like that. So, I mean, he's got a good upside, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. I definitely believe he has a good upside. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll be looking forward to seeing him again, man, and seeing how he develops. And like I said, I mean, I think they're going to run him along the right track. I don't think they're going to move him too quick. And but he looks like he's the real deal, man.
Most definitely, he is the real deal.
Speaking of people who are not the real deal,
this is funny. Go ahead.
Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Everett Bravo. I think this was televised on. It wasn't Telemundo. What's that other one?
Universum or something like that.
Maybe I don't know. But I caught it on YouTube. And if you got a spare 2 minutes, you can Google it on YouTube. You're not going to waste your time. But Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Everett Bravo. Now, Julio Cesar Chavez said prior to this fight that if I lose this fight to Bravo, I'm going to retire. I think Beeb could say if he lost the fight to Bravo, he could retire too, because I think it's a pretty quick walkover here. Chavez Jr. won via first-round KO over Everett Bravo. It was a left hand to the liver that did the damage. Listen, man, he's still got that trademark left hook. He does. I mean, it's something he was born with, man. He can really throw that shot. He hit him with it, and it was a delayed reaction. Bravo just crumpled on the ropes, could not beat the count. Chavez looked good. He did. He looked good against this guy. But, you know, you got to take into consideration that it was you know, he was brought there. That's why Bravo was brought there, you know. So, yeah, man. Beeb, any thoughts on this, on Chavez coming back? Do you think that...
Well, the funny thing about it is he always seems to get big fights. I can't figure it.
He's a big name.
I can't figure it out. So
he's the Mexican Adrian Broner.
It's hard to tell it's hard for me to tell the guy to retire if people are still going to pay him.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. To sum it up in a nutshell, if people are still going to pay this guy, then who the hell am I to tell him to go away? You know?
Yeah, I mean it's tough, man. It's tough because where does he go? They're talking about him fighting Angulo next, Alfred Angulo.
That'd be a good fight. He probably should win that fight.
Yeah,
I mean, people would watch it just for the sheer entertainment value of it.
Yeah, I mean those guys are going
to
go for each other.
You know what I always say, when you put two guys in there who are pretty much at the same level, at the same part in their career, basically on the downside, probably Angulo is further down the ladder than Chavez Jr. is at this point.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
You know, you got two Mexicans fighting each other. I'm sure some people would be interested in seeing it, believe it or not. So.
Yeah, I mean, everybody likes that train wreck.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And that's what this would be, I think.
And it's going to be an action fight. I mean, it'd definitely be an action fight.
Without question, I agree.
So we'll see what happens, man. So that was a comeback of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. ESPN Plus has Jason Sosa versus Haskell, Liddell, Rhodes. 10 rounds, junior lightweights. Jason Sosa dropped Rhodes 3 times en route to a TKO in the 7th. Just kind of an okay fight for me. The fight that I tuned in for, and the fight that I really, really wanted to see, I was really interested in this because I saw this guy fight in the amateurs, as most of you have. He's a 2-time gold medalist, Robles-Ramirez versus Aiden Gonzalez, 4 rounds, featherweights. This was very interesting, man. Seconds into his fight, the 2-time gold medalist, Robles-Ramirez, got smacked with a left hand that put him down in the first round. And I tell you what, when you watched him, when you watch his left hand, he did one of the cardinal sins, man. You never back straight out when you're getting thrown on. You back out at an angle, you don't pull straight back, you don't back straight out, And sure enough, and when you watch that knockdown, he's got his hand up here, almost like that Philly shell type thing, one hand to the body, one hand up here. And he was torqued in such a way that when he pulled back, even if he could have caught it, even if he could have brought this hand over and blocked the shot, he still might have went down.
Yeah.
Because he was that off balance. He still may have went down, but it caught him flush. It caught him pretty clean. It was a good, solid shot. He went down on all fours. He actually, I think he stayed up, but his gloves definitely touched the canvas, and he fell into the ropes. So it wasn't like a full-blown knockdown. Obviously, it's going to be called a knockdown, but I mean, he definitely got smacked. No question about it. So it's 4 rounds. So already you're down 10-8. There's no question about it. You're down 10-8. Now you're down 2 rounds. I thought the second round was closer. I thought Gonzalez won it. He, and the fight was, I mean, when you look at the CompuBox, the stats were all close. Every round, I mean, they're within 1 punch of each other, So, I mean, that's the thing, man. Listen, if you're going to blow the guy out, then you have to win. You have to really come in and make a statement. And instead, it was Gonzalez making the statement here, And he did it. I thought Gonzalez did a real good job of staying busy throughout the fight.
Yeah.
And Ramirez did too. But when I'm watching this guy, I don't see, a 2-time gold medalist there. I just see, a guy, who had some bad luck in his first fight and this and that. Final scores, it actually went the distance. Final scores, 39-36 for Gonzalez, 38-37 for Ramirez, 40-35 for Gonzalez. Gonzalez wins a split decision over Robles-Ramirez. And a lot of people pointed to Bernard Hopkins and said, well, he dropped his first fight. He still can be a superstar and this and that. This guy's got a long way to go. And here's the thing is, man, like typically when you spend that much time in the Olympics, that's not really a good thing. What did Rashid went to 3 Olympics? And, and while he didn't win, he went to 3 Olympics. So he spent a lot of time in the amateurs. And, he came out to win a title, but he hasn't been a world beater out there. You know what I mean? He's had some issues. And if you think about like all the experience he's had, all the experience you get in the Olympics and everything like that, I think there's such thing as staying in the amateurs too long.
I agree.
Because it is a different game. I mean, it's a different game once you get out here into the pros. It's a very different thing. And Reese Mack says it's his first pro fight, to be fair, and he should be time to give him to improve as a pro. He should be, and maybe we're a bit unfair. We may be a bit unfair with this. That being said, though, listen, they're not going to put him in there with a guy that they think he can't beat. And that's kind of the bottom line of this. You think Bob Arum is going to put him in there against somebody? You think anybody was expecting this? Not a chance, man. This is why, this is why they put him in here, because he was expected to win. I don't know, and I don't know if you looked at him, Beeb. I don't know what the odds were for this fight, the Ramirez fight. I imagine they were pretty high, So given that fact, man, I'd say this is a big, big upset, and he's going to have He's going to have a long way to go.
I'll tell you this.
To come back from this.
I'll tell you this. Whatever the odds were, this kid was not supposed to lose. Let's just put it that way.
Not even close.
There was no way this kid was supposed to lose.
No.
And that's just the the gist of it. This kid was not supposed to fucking lose.
I know Shakur Stevenson. Could you imagine? Okay, well, let's put the shoe on the other foot. Could you imagine Shakur Stevenson come out and lose his first pro fight after all the fanfare and everything like that? I mean, after all the hype and everything. Michael Conlon the same way. It's one of those things, man. It's gonna be. Listen, man. From here on out, for Ramirez, it's a tough road back.
It most certainly is.
Yeah, tough road back. So, yeah, he's didn't do himself any favors in that fight. And after the fight, he said he won the fight.
Well, it's a split decision. Usually, there's always going to be an argument made when there's a split decision, but he probably didn't win the fight.
No. D-Style, thank you so much. He said amateur boxing is fencing with gloves compared to pro, and he's right. It goes by punches landed, not necessarily, and it's not necessarily like that in the pros. So yeah, man, but that's a tough one, man. I was really looking forward to it. I mean, like I said, a 2-time Olympian from Cuba, man. I mean, not a good start, man. Not a good start at all.
Shocking, really shocking. You got to be honest about that.
I mean, you don't. That's not what you expect. I didn't even expect him to have a rough time. I mean, I expected a whitewash. I mean, that other guy shouldn't even have been in the fight. So yeah, that was a tough one. But Cubans, they're hit or miss as pros. I mean, they are. They're kind of hit or miss. Those the real popular Cuban amateurs are sometimes hit or miss as pros. So I don't know. Some people got that pro style. Some people not like to keep that amateur style. So see what happens. All right, let's talk about the upcoming fights here. Not a lot of action at all this weekend. Now, I believe, let's see here. I think, what is this, Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday, August 14th. Tim Tszyu from Sydney, Australia, not televised, but Tim Tszyu is a big name down there. He was on pay-per-view and everything, Kostya's son, versus Dwight Ritchie, 10 rounds, junior middleweights. And then I believe this is Saturday, August 17th. From Los Angeles on ESPN, Emmanuel Navarrete versus Francisco de Vaca, 12 rounds for Navarrete's WBO junior featherweight title. Jesse Magdaleno on the undercard versus Rafael Rivera, 10 rounds featherweights. Arnold Barboza Jr. versus Jorge Luis Rodriguez, 10 rounds junior welterweights. Friend of the show, Chris Van Heerden on the undercard versus Aslabek Kazarov, 10 rounds welterweights. There you go. And let's see what else. On UFC Fight Pass on the same night, August 17th, Charles Foster versus Denis Grabashev, 10 rounds light heavyweights. And that is it. That is it. Tell you what, we are definitely in the dog days of summer, that's for sure. The following week, on August 24th, it kind of picks up. We have Sergey Kovalev versus Anthony Yarde, and we'll talk about that next week. That'll be a good one. And Juan Francisco Estrada versus Dwayne Beeman, 12 rounds for Estrada's WBC bantamweight title. So that's a decent card on DAZN. And let me see what else. Fox has a card, Brandon Figueroa versus Javier Nicolas, for Figueroa's WBA interim junior featherweight title. And we'll talk about all those next week. But yeah, not a Beeb. Pretty barren out there, no?
Yeah, we're not going to get any. When's that Luke Campbell Lomachenko fight? 31st of August, right?
So, yeah, this is kind of the last week where we have nothing, and then it kind of picks up, like I said, kind of picks up with, Lomachenko coming to 31st and then Kovalev coming to 24th. So a little bit, picks up a little bit here. D-Style in the chat says, worst gold medalist debut ever. Yeah. What do we say? I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's to me, that's a Pretty bad.
Maybe right, D-Style.
Getting knocked down in the first 30 seconds and then losing
Not a
the
good
fight,
look, brother.
You know? No. Nacho said he was completely overconfident, and when he got knocked down in the first round and couldn't make up the difference. You know, it's a 4-round fight. So when you get knocked down, you're already down 2 rounds. So for you to even pull out a draw, you got to win the other 2 rounds. And like I said, man, I don't think he did it, man. I really don't. I had the other guy winning that fight, man. So there you go. All right, let's talk about the news and rumors this week. The big news, of course, kind of, maybe, and then we'll go to the callers here. We're going to talk about this big news and go to callers. So Joshua and Ruiz, and we've heard this before. Joshua and Ruiz is set now to take place on December 7th. The fight is scheduled for December 7th in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia. I read that they're going to construct a temporary stadium that'll hold about maybe 5,000 or 6,000 people. Not many. So if you're planning on, saving your money and going over there, don't bother. You're not going to get in. Many people have come out and slammed the venue, given the fact that Saudi Arabia has violated many human rights, including killing a reporter. The fight is being hosted for £70 million, approximately $84 million. It was reported that Ruiz is set to get around $9 million, while Anthony Joshua will get $34 million. The odd thing there is that there's been no mention from PBC or Andy Ruiz about this rematch. Mike Coppinger has reported that Andy Ruiz has not signed the contract yet. The big holdup seems to be the money. Andy Ruiz clearly not happy with $9 million, and I tell you what, if that's the case, I don't blame him. But again, no solid, real evidence that he's not signed. Eddie Hearn is scheduled to have a press conference Monday in the UK announcing all of the details for this fight. This is an odd one. If he truly has not signed, Beeb, that's an odd thing to do.
Well,
is to announce this fight and go ahead with it, and just kind of go on with it without a signature on the bottom line when it's not complete.
Well, let's read the quote from Manny Robles. He was being interviewed by Fight Hype. He said, this is coming from Manny Robles. He told Fight Hype, it says, "You haven't heard anything from Andrew Ruiz, and there's a reason why." He said, "You've got the promoter going out on a limb saying we're fighting December 7th in Saudi Arabia, but you haven't heard anything from Andy. Everybody has to hold off and wait." So that doesn't sound like somebody who's signed that fight. So, he signed the contract. I get it. But why are you going to hate on the guy for trying to get more? I mean, the problem is when you put these stupid contracts together and you're locking a guy in to a certain price. No one knew that he was going to dominate and knock Anthony Joshua out, number one. So he should be rewarded for an outstanding performance, number one. In my opinion, again, you don't have to agree. No one has to agree. Because the fight ended in a way that nobody envisioned. And even, I suspect, he believed he would win, but I don't think he thought he would dominate like that, knock him out like that, number one. So he feels as though he over-exceeded expectations. He should be rewarded for that. Sort of like a UFC bonus, right? Fight of the night, whatever.
Yeah.
So
sure.
whether or not that's relevant or not, again, that's probably what I think he's thinking maybe. It's just my speculation and my opinion. That's just my opinion. And number two, look how big the fight is. Like when you sign a contract beforehand like this, it's like players who sign deals and they want to renegotiate. How many players sign contracts in other sports like the NBA and the Major Baseball League Association, NFL? How many times do they sit down and they get their agent and their agent says, "Okay, we signed this contract, but you know what? So and so's been pumping out these home runs like crazy, or this guy's been getting all these points and assists, whatever. It's time to renegotiate this contract." How many times has that happened? It's like everyone's acting like this is just so, oh my God, Andrew Ruiz is just doing something so dishonorable for asking for more money like everyone else in the world does. Like, all this outrage over Andrew Ruiz asking for more money. What's the worst thing that can happen? They say no. Okay. The guy wants more money. Anyone that doesn't think that he deserves more than $9 million, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Hasim Rahman in 2002 rematched Lennox Lewis, and he got $10 million in 2002. Factor in the cost of inflation. How much is that? Buster Douglas, $25 million after knocking out Mike Tyson. This contract that Ruiz signed, and again, he signed it. I have to look at it objectively. He signed it. So an argument can be made that he has to go through with it. But an argument can also be made that he can hold out because he's got the belts as leverage, and he knows he's got the belts as leverage. So this whole thing about, him, stalling the fight and doing this and doing that and being so dishonorable. It's so funny, too, because a lot of times I'll sit there and tell these guys, Eddie Hearn's a liar, he's this, he's that, whatever. He's a bullshit artist. And you know what their response is? All promoters lie. So you're absolving Eddie Hearn's behavior because all promoters do it. Well, all fighters always try to get more money. That's what fighters do. It's the nature of the beast. I've never seen this in my life where the losing side actually gets rewarded for losing. He got $20 million the first fight. Now they're saying he's going to get $34 million in the rematch. So this guy gets almost double, and he lost. This guy's getting 34, and Ruiz is getting 9. Now,
more than 3 times.
Exactly. I don't care if he signed it or not. You put this before a judge, and this is not a slam dunk case for Team Hearn. Just telling you that right now. It's not a slam. This is the most one-sided contract coming from the losing side, I would have to say, in the history of the sport. At least from my years of watching the sport, this is unprecedented, and I will repeat this over and over again. The guy loses, and he's coming out better than he did going in as the champion. He wants to get put into a better position after losing. Hearn wants to be elevated, and he wants Joshua to get more money, even in a losing effort. When has this ever happened before in the sport of boxing? It's crazy. Doesn't matter what you did before. If you were a guy at McDonald's flipping burgers, right? And you were making $7 an hour, and then all of a sudden you got promoted to fucking CEO of the company, or you're sitting on the board. You can't sit there and say, well, oh, look what you made before. You get paid for the job you do. You get paid. So the Dimitrenko fight was not worth $50 million. That was not a $50 million fight. You can't compare apples to oranges. This is why I don't understand what people don't get. If you get a promotion in a job and you find out that the guy before you that was doing that job was making a certain amount of money, then you get that job because he quits or he gets fired or whatever, and they're going to pay you half of what they paid him. It's still double what you made before, but it's still not what the job is worth. Right?
Right.
You pay someone commensurate of what the job is worth. Okay? You can't compare the Dimitrenko fight, with all due respect, to this fight with Anthony Joshua. The Dimitrenko fight was just a run-of-the-mill fight. This is the biggest fight in boxing right now. This is the biggest fight of the year. It's the biggest fight in boxing right now. Okay? That's the thing. That's the thing. Yes, Raphael. But the thing is this: if we agree for $1 for the car, but then again you change the car on me, then the price will change. Because this isn't the same fight. This isn't the same fight than the Dimitrenko fight. It's not the same fight. It's not the same fight.
That's a great point.
So if you change the car, the price of the car will change, brother. Okay? Right. You can't say I'm gonna sell you this Hyundai for $1, okay? Or I can't say I'm gonna buy this Hyundai for you from $1, and then all of a sudden I say, okay, I want the Porsche instead, but I want to still pay $1 for it. Well, the fight's not the same.
Raphael, the car is not the same.
The fight's not the same. That's the point, Raphael.
Right.
The fight's
not the same fight anymore. Could you imagine, Beeb, let me ask you a question. Could you imagine if the shoe was on the other foot and Anthony Joshua was having to take $9 million for this? There'd be no way. They'd be renegotiating this thing to beat the ban.
Every single person out there that would be put in Ruiz's position would be doing the same thing. Why? Because the belts are leverage. The belts were a leverage. Why do you think Eddie Hearn had come out and said, if it was up to me, this fight would be in Cardiff? And then he went and also said, we will tell Andy Ruiz where the fight is going to be. We will make the decision. So you said it was up to you. You said if it were up to you, you would have the fight in Cardiff. But yet, the fight's not in Cardiff. Why? Because you need Ruiz's belts. Ruiz is playing. Ruiz is doing the smart thing here. Why would he not try to get more money? Because he's going to get more. He's going to get more than $9 million for this fight. Because if Joshua does not fight Ruiz again, he will never be looked at as the heavyweight champion. Never. If he does not fight Ruiz again, and he tries to go into fights with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, he will be the B-side. He will lose his position. The only way he can get his spot back is by fighting Ruiz. Eddie Hearn knows that. That's why Eddie Hearn backed off Cardiff. And that's why DAZN will more than likely sweeten this deal. So let's not, we're criticizing Andrew Ruiz for doing something that every single one of us in this would be doing right now. I would be doing the same thing.
What was the thing that you tweeted out about the contracts?
The unconscionable contract. It's an unconscionable contract.
Right. And I think that honestly is, when you look at it, this has got all the makings of that. Because one guy is getting way, for one guy who has 3 belts, and then the other guy who has no belt. Now listen, you can't argue. He's the A side.
Like the Lennox Lewis fight with Hasim Rahman. Hasim Rahman was losing the fight, and then he lands one punch. And that, you know what I'm saying? This wasn't like a one punch out of the blue knockout, Mary punch, a fight that Ruiz dominated this fight. I gave Anthony Joshua 1 round. I think you gave him 1 round, if I'm not mistaken.
I gave him the first 2 rounds. I gave him the 3rd round. Well, no.
Did you give him one?
I don't even remember how I.
So you may have had Ruiz up. Okay, you had it closer to me. I think you had Ruiz up a point at the time of the stoppage.
Maybe so, but given the Ruiz. I remember gave Ruiz the first 2 rounds.
You gave Ruiz the first 2 rounds?
Because I thought he was doing great.
How did you give Joshua?
I gave Ruiz the first 2. I don't remember. I thought, I'd have to go look. But I remember giving Ruiz the first 2 rounds.
I think you had Ruiz up big at the time of the stoppage, if I remember.
I believe I did.
Most people had Ruiz dominating this fight. It just makes, how can anyone say? And Ruiz is going to sign anything because he wanted the fight. Well, he's using his leverage.
I gave Joshua 1 round. That was the 4th.
Gave 1 round. So he's using his leverage. It doesn't matter. He's got the belts. Doesn't matter what he signed. Look, you guys forget, Andre Ward sat out 2 years because he didn't like his contract. Mikey Garcia sat out 2 years. Nonito Donaire sat out. Fighters are willing to sit out. And who's to say when this thing goes before a judge? What do you think? What do you think? This would go. This would have to go before the U.S. Supreme Court, just like Lennox Lewis did, because this fight was in Madison Square Garden. The contract was an American contract, wasn't a U.K. contract. So Eddie Hearn's going to have to deal with the U.S. Supreme Court system. Is he familiar with dealing with the U.S. Supreme Court system? I'm sure he has American lawyers that will help him out with that. I don't doubt that. But the fact of the matter is he willing to go through a drawn out process where the belts can be in jeopardy of being stripped? And I keep saying this, and I don't know why it keeps going over people's heads. Don't know why people don't get it. Okay? If this fight doesn't happen, it hurts Joshua more than it hurts Ruiz. Is that a fair statement?
I think it does. I don't think, you can't have any level of inactivity here. But now, I'll tell you what happens now is because Eddie Hearn went out and announced this whole thing for Saudi Arabia. And now, now it's got to happen in the sense that, now you got to make it happen because you got $70-80 million on the line. So now you got to make it happen. So
Raphael.
Now you have to kind of bend to what Ruiz is saying. If he wants more money, what are you going to say?
Raphael thinks this.
That's the fight.
Raphael thinks this would go to a UK court. Again, you're making statements that are 110% false. The fight took place on American soil. The contract was drafted up in America because it's an American fight. Okay? It's not going to a UK court. The fight happened in America. It would be in America. There is 100% certainty that the case would be in America because the fight was in America. There's no way this would be in a UK court. You have to be objective. Don't say what you want to happen. Okay? I want to be 7 feet tall and I want to dunk a basketball. I can't. It's not going to happen. I'm 6'1". That's it. I can't jump. I got 2 bum knees. I'm never going to dunk it. I'm never going to dunk a basketball. Don't say what you want. Say what is. Doesn't matter what the zone is. The zone, they're the broadcaster. It doesn't matter.
Hey, let's touch on that real quick. So it came out yesterday by Mike Coppinger, and this is why I take all this with a grain of salt. Mike Coppinger came out and said, hey, there's 2 other companies vying for this fight too, so DAZN may get cut out of the American portion of this fight, so blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, last night they did a preview. Apparently they did a preview of the fight on DAZN. Saying that the Ruiz fight has been signed. Why on earth would they promote the fight if it's not going to be on their network? That's like NBC promoting the Super Bowl on their network when it's going to be on Fox. I mean, it's such a bonehead thing, and that's why I say,
Matchroom USA drafted this contract, not DAZN. That's the last thing I'm going to say on it. Matchroom USA drafted this contract. Matchroom USA. That's Eddie has a company, and he has an office in New York. Okay? I don't like Hearn. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this was a Matchroom. Go look at the ring. It said Matchroom USA in the ring. It was promoted by. It said Matchroom USA.
Yeah, they do have 2. Yeah, they have 2.
They have 2 companies.
They have
Matchroom and Matchroom USA.
Matchroom, and they have
He's
2
got an
guys
office
doing
in New York. Yeah. This contract was drafted in the New York office. Of course, I don't like Hearn because I think he's a snake. He's the modern day Don King of this era. I don't like him, but I'm objective. I'm objective.
So let's get down to brass tacks here. Do you think he signed the contract? Because that's all we're really doing. And there's multiple articles out there saying that Ruiz has not signed the contract, but they all point back to one source, and that's Coppinger.
Well,
I don't know.
Again, wait 1 second, though. With respect. I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
One thing that we got today was the Manny Robles quote. That kind of,
for sure.
So now we have two sources. The Carpenter source, I'm always skeptical of. I believe Manny Robles. I trust him. He has no reason to lie. Because it would make them look bad. Manny Robles said that there's a reason why he hasn't said anything yet. Because again, they're still negotiating this. So I agree with you 110%. I would be very skeptical of the Carpenter quote and the Carpenter story, which I am, and which we have every reason to be skeptical of. But when I read this quote from Robles, and I think there's a video with him saying it, that kind of made me think. That kind of made me think that I don't believe he signed it, but I can't say that with 100% certainty.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that what gets me is that within 24 hours, just completely contradicted himself with his news, saying that DAZN may not be in the running for it, blah blah blah. They show it, and then he says, well, they didn't do this when they did it, and so I found that interesting. So it may still be. Again, they're not gonna put this on their airwaves if they're not 100% confident they're airing the fight. Again, it's like NBC advertising the Super Bowl when Fox has it that year. It doesn't work. It doesn't.
Look what Dawkins is saying now. He said we're referring to the bout agreement. Oh, stop! Listen, go back and watch the fight. Go back and watch the fight and read the emblem and the decal in the ring. It said Matchroom USA. He has a staff and he has offices in New York. That's where this contract was drafted.
And I know for a fact he has different guys working those offices. I know for a fact he's got different PR people in New York than he does in England.
We deal with them. We deal with these people. We get the press releases from these people. We got Lever. Doesn't Lever do the UK? And there's another guy.
Anthony Lever has been put in charge of
the US. He's the US guy, and they have someone else doing the UK.
He's the US guy. They have someone else over the UK. Correct.
So again, I don't like Eddie Hearn, but I'm also telling the truth that there's two separate entities.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think they had to do that. They probably had to do that for licensing reasons and everything like that.
I mean, why would you have the contract drafted in the UK when the fight's not even in the UK? I mean, come on, stop. It's just one.
Neither fight would be in the UK, so I don't understand how it would end up there.
It can't go to an English court. It's an American contract. Oh, I give up, Eric. I give up. It's not we'll see. It's a Matchroom USA promoted event. It's going to be a U.S. court, Raphael. Stop. Why are you so stubborn? You're so stubborn. It's okay to be wrong. I've been wrong before. You're wrong. It's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person that you're wrong. Please. Doesn't. It's not we'll see. It's Forget it. Forget it. Oh my God. Oh.
Like I said, the funny part is I texted you earlier on. I said it's probably just much ado about nothing. Robles did say in that interview or whatever that you're referring to that no matter what it is, we're going to go forward. He said, if we have to, we have to, and he'll fight because that's what champions do. If he has to honor that contract, then he has to honor it, whatever, for $9 million, which I think is just, I think it's just.
I think he's going to get more than the $9 million. I thought the fight was definitely going to America, but one thing I was definitely sure of is he was not going to go to the UK, and he's not going to the UK. So if he won that battle, then he's probably going to win this battle too.
So did Eddie Hearn put himself in a bad position, a bad negotiating position, if the contract is not signed, which we don't know? Did he put himself in a bad negotiating position with Andy Ruiz by putting the fight out there, saying, hey, Saudi's going to host it. We got a location, a venue. They're going to build a temporary structure. He's going to get $9 million. He's going to get 34. The fight's worth X amount. Did he put himself in a bad position?
No, because he'll find a way to weasel out of it. Well, this is what
He's a politician, yeah.
I'll tell you exactly what he's going to say. We were under the impression that Andy Ruiz was definitely going to sign this contract. He gave us every indication that he was prepared to sign this contract, and then at the 13th hour, last minute, he decided he's not going to sign this contract. He was the one that was digging us around, not the other way around. That's what he's going to say. That's what he's going to say.
Jason had said earlier on Twitter and stuff, what about the boxing commission? Saudi Arabia is dirty. They don't have a boxing commission. They do. I looked it up. They do have a boxing federation. Now, I don't know if that's the same thing as their commission or whatever, but they do have a boxing federation that is run by their government. So I would assume that is there. And not to mention, they've had Callum Smith fought there. Amir Khan has fought there. They've had big-time fights there, big-time fighters there. So this is not their first rodeo. And but now as far as drug testing and everything like that, I think that has to go through VADA or whatever they're going to do. I mean, I think that would be the most reliable anyway. So just my 2 cents here. All right, let's go to the phones here. We got to get him a new intro. Jason, 706, you're live.
Yeah, I don't know about that fucking commission. I wouldn't be going over there. Fucking, why the hell would he go to fucking Saudi Arabia? That's first of all. He should be. What? He should be claiming. I'm not talking about myself, dummy. Shut up. He should be claiming a security risk. He should be like, my wife and kids are saying they don't want me to go. They could fucking behead me over there and cut me up like that Washington Post journalist. And I'd be fucking calling that Washington Post journalist and telling them this is what's going on. They're fucking trying to threaten me to go to Saudi Arabia. Washington Post would write a front page article on this. They're fucking. They chopped up that fucking guy's body and sent it to fucking Saudi Arabia. That's the kind of government we're dealing with here. This is not some regular fucking country like you're in Australia or fucking Canada or somewhere. This is Saudi Arabia, and it's fucking 120 degrees out there. Who the fuck knows what kind of food is out there in the desert? He's gonna be in camel out there? Fuck no. You shouldn't be going over there, man. I mean, this is ridiculous. And anybody that even says that he has to go over there is a fucking moron. When was the last time anybody was forced to go to the Middle East after knocking somebody out like Andy did to AJ? That just doesn't happen in boxing. AJ is the most protected champion of this fucking era. That's why it's happening, because people talk about, he had a what do you call it, a panic attack. There was no panic attack. That American pressure is just fucking different when you walk into Madison Square Garden and when everybody's not worshiping you, because you're a fucking little ass name over in America. Nobody knows you in that fucking arena, really. Nobody, unless you're British and you flew over here. That when you looked at AJ's face when he's walking to his ring, he's looking everywhere. That American pressure is different. That's why he's running away from here. That's why he doesn't want to come here. He doesn't want to come. He's probably having nightmares about Madison Square Garden. He doesn't want to come back here. All that talk about AJ wants to come back and right the wrong at the same place was all bullshit. That was all fake fucking bullshit.
You hear what they said on the Zone?
AJ never wanted to come here.
You hear what they said on the Zone last night? You hear what they said on the Zone last night?
What?
Sergio Mora goes like this. He goes like this. Oh, I give AJ a lot of credit for wanting to come back to the New York and right the wrong.
Yeah, okay.
He's brave. He's a brave guy for wanting to do that. Yeah, he wanted to do it, but how come he didn't do it then?
Just last week he told Adam Smith, I'm going to fight for the UK fans. I want to fight back in Cardiff. And 3 days later, they're going to stop.
Sergio Mora's trying to give him credit for something he didn't even do.
He has no morals or ethics. Beeb. He's been hanging out with the Saudi royal family for years. Like, he pretty much lives in Dubai. Like, if you're in England, that's where majority of the Britishers go vacation, because it's warm over there, They like that weather. In Dubai, it's like a 6-hour flight or something.
There's so much backlash from everyone around the world complaining about this fight.
Yeah, nobody likes
Nobody don't like. They think this is just.
And Eric, you said something about $70 million. Most people are saying Eddie secured a $40 million site fee. I don't think it's $70 million.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too.
That's like another fake number. These British websites inflate everything. Like just like that Fury $100 million ESPN
this was from
deal.
The BBC. Yeah,
that's the same people that said $100 million for Fury.
Those numbers were like from the BBC.
Yeah, they're all
other people saying some people saying it's 35, some people saying it's 40. That's why these numbers are all over.
40 makes sense, like.
Yeah, that's the
AJ,
thing. I mean,
but
you never really know because we didn't see the contract.
Yeah, Coppinger said 40. He secured 40, but that's why Al is telling him to hold up, because she's going to get him at least 15 or 20 if he's going to send him there. You're not going to send him there for the first fucking offer you get. Hell no, that's just not how it works. I mean, Al Heyman is a fucking master's degree in business from fucking Harvard. I'm sure he knows what the fuck he's doing. Eddie's a fucking private school dropout. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, you know? And I can guarantee you this, all these fucking morons in the chat are talking about Nacho's like, he can't pull out of the contract. Well, Nacho, isn't Canelo and fucking Ryan Garcia pulling out of that Golden Boy contracts? What about those fucking contracts? Canelo's saying, open the fucking books. He just had a meeting with a lawyer. Nobody gives a shit about contracts, dude. Didn't Canelo pull out of his contract with that Miami promoter, and he fucking sued him for $10 million, and he still won in appeal? So all these fucking contracts mean absolutely fucking nothing. All these dumbass boxing fans are always talking about contract this. Who cares about contracts? People go to court and fucking work out contracts all the time. You can buy out of your fucking contract. And that's why what Andy Ruiz is going to do. PBC is going to back him because there's so much potential to make money in the Wilder Ruiz fight. Even if you lose $2-3 million, PBC will probably be like, all right, we'll pay you. Why not? I would pay him. That's the only fight really I want to see. You don't think Mexicans and black people will fucking buy like a million pay-per-views of that fight? That's the biggest fight, dude. Fox wants that fight badly. That's why they put him on that fucking broadcast for Manny Thurman. You know? They're already promoting that fucking fight. And that's the only fight that really matters. Who cares about, even if Andy gets stripped of those belts and they're fighting for the WBC belt, Andy's already champ. Who cares about if they don't have the belts on the line? There's still the undisputed fight in everybody's mind in America. Who cares if the fucking matchroom fans are crying on Twitter? Who cares, man? I think he should drop all the belts. That'll give him even more leverage. Who gives a shit about these stupid-ass belts? Save some money. You know, he's going to save some sanction fees if he's going to get sued. Save like 6 figures. Why not? It's fucking... Also, Billy Joe Saunders, Eddie's about to sign him. That's like the 5th PD user Eddie signed, you know? All these guys talk about Eddie cares about fighters. That is the 5th PD user. Dylan White, Povetkin, Galahad, Huey Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, all have failed PD tests, and they're all at Matchroom. That's like Matchroom is the new home of PD users in England. So anybody that tells you that Eddie cares about cleaning the sport is full of fucking shit, too. Don't ever fucking buy that either. All the PD users call up Eddie and say, Eddie, I want a new contract, and Eddie's like, all right, come on, man, I got you. So all that is bullshit. So, and now, if fucking Billy fails the test next fight, you know UCAT is going to hide that test. You know who they are. I mean, Eddie's the biggest promoter in the UK. He has the most power over there. So that's why they all signed him. And he'll have a statement ready to go. Oh, there was an adverse finding. We got a meeting, and it was okay. You know, this fucking corrupt-ass motherfucker. I would never go to Saudi Arabia. I would rather get sued than go over there, dude. They don't play by the rules. They're fucking buddies with Joshua. He hangs out with them all the time. He's like families with the government people over there. He's posting pictures in that fucking Saudi headgear and fucking clothes and shit, you know, hanging out in the desert with those people. Andy's never been there. And, dude, going over there from American weather, you don't know where the fuck you are. You can get sick over there, too, man. You don't know the fucking water and all that shit. I would not go over there. They should have done this fight in maybe Canada, since Canada has its own. That's like a neutral territory. That would probably have been better.
Don't drink the water. What's the matter with you? Don't drink the water.
Would you drink the water over there? Shit. Probably oil in that water.
Drink the water in Mexico.
No, hell no.
All right, Jason, you've been heard.
But dude, the Oscar De La Hoya still didn't show up last night. Did you guys see? He was missing. Where the hell is he?
He's in rehab, son.
He's tweeting. I guess he's in one of those. He's in one of those Hollywood rehabs, you know, where you just go live in some mansion in the Hollywood Hills for like $200K, sitting in rehab tweeting about boxing.
Either that or in the kitchen with some dudes, man. I don't know where he was.
Yeah, he didn't show up again. Vergil Ortiz looked good. Spence was there, too. Spence is in shape, dude. He's about to get whoop fucking... Ohio's about to take another L. You know, Broner's probably about to take another L, too.
Spence looks good, man. So,
dude, Porter's stupid. He's going around everywhere. All right, go ahead. Peace.
All right, man.
It was like a fucking mile a minute, that kid.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, don't drink this. Don't drink the water in Saudi. What? Oh my goodness! Yeah. So he brought up a good point too with Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders is actually Eddie Hearn's got a press conference tomorrow that's going to announce their newest signing, which I'm assuming is going to be Billy Joe Saunders. Because he did sign with him. Saunders was apparently signed with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. This a good move for Saunders?
Yeah, because you got Callum Smith over there. It'd be easy to make the fight now.
Yeah. And I think it's a good.
I don't
he
dislike it.
He gets better exposure.
I like Callum Smith a lot too.
Yeah, I do too. Billy Joe Saunders. All right, 312 Chicago. You're live.
Fight Doctor's in the house on Rick James status as always. What's going on, gentlemen?
Fight Doctor, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing better than Eddie Hearn. Put it that way. I'm doing a lot better than Eddie Hearn. So I have a question. Has anyone heard any news on the Dillian White B sample?
No, not at all.
The silence is deafening over there. I mean, it's crazy. So this guy threatens to sue the WBC because they didn't make Dillian White mandatory quick enough, and they sanctioned the fight with Rivas as a title eliminator. So they're basically giving Hearn what he's crying for. Dillian White's mandatory. Dillian White pops dirty, and they claim that Dillian White is a clean fighter. So, okay, if that's the case, where is the B sample? Where is the B sample? And, I mean, it's been like, what, a month? Going on a month?
Yeah, you won't see that B sample for about a year.
Guys, tell me.
You won't see that B sample for about a year, man.
We're never going to see that. Yeah,
that B sample's probably at the bottom of an ocean right now.
Yeah, there's no question. No question. Okay? And so, why Saudi Arabia, of all places, to stage a fight? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Yeah, the Saudis have a lot of money, but this fight belongs in Vegas. I mean, with all the intrigue, it's turning into a bit of a soap opera. With all the dirt that's been associated with Eddie Hearn lately, I think this fight will be right at home in Las Vegas, as dirty as Vegas is, and I think that's where the fight probably makes the most money, with all the who and how that's going on. And so Tim Bradley, he gave an interview, I think it was yesterday, discussing the rematch, the Ruiz-Joshua rematch, and basically, I agree with Tim Bradley. He says that Team Ruiz needs to hold fast, hold on, and don't give in to the silly demands by Team Joshua, and I agree, because at the end of the day, Joshua needs Ruiz more than Ruiz needs Joshua. Let's just be completely honest. And you're right, Beeb. I think Showtime and/or Fox are probably salivating at the idea of putting on a Deontay Wilder, Anthony Ruiz fight, pay-per-view. That fight is probably pay-per-view by now, So, yeah, $9 million to fight in Saudi Arabia? I don't think so. And it's an $80 million, $85 million fight? No. So, I hope Team Ruiz, I hope that they stick to their guns and milk the loser, Don King 2.0, Eddie Hearn, milk him for as much money as you can, okay? Because he should be made to pay for all his nonsense, the bad business. Just, he should be made to pay for being a cheap impersonation of Don King. At least when Don King did his stuff, he didn't get caught, okay? And he put on some good fights in the process. But this guy, he's trying to cheat everybody, and he's cheating the fans. He's trying to cheat Ruiz, and Ruiz isn't going for it. And Beeb, you're right. Eddie Hearn is playing checkers, and Al Heyman is playing chess. And that's what I see. So I'll leave you gentlemen with that.
All right, there we go. Good call, Fight Doctor. And what do you think about that, B? What do you think about what the Fight Doctor said? I think that Do you think that Ruiz needs to hold firm?
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that he needs to?
Yeah. The more time that goes by and the fight's not done, it benefits him.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is that Eddie Hearn in Matchroom had said that tomorrow they're going to announce their newest signing. But I haven't heard anything, and maybe I just missed it, and that's possible too. I haven't seen anything on there that said, hey, we're going to hold a press conference about the Joshua thing. Now, I read that in one of the articles that we read, research on this fight and everything like that he was going to hold one Monday. But I haven't seen anything on his social media. And again, I could have just missed it, but I caught this one that they're going to announce Billy Joe Saunders or whatever. But yeah, if he doesn't hold a press conference tomorrow announcing this fight, I think you can assume that something is up, that contract has not been signed yet.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Because what happens right after the fight's announced? The first press conference is announced, right? Like 2 days later, right?
Yeah.
Usually?
Right.
So.
Right. So I think if he shows up and, he's got to, I think it's odd that, like I said, there's not it says he was going to talk about it. It didn't say anything about the fighters being there or anything like that, but I find it odd that he wouldn't have the fighters there.
Well, once again, everyone thinks I love to dump on Hearn. He's like the face of the operation instead of the fighters. Like when you look at all the, again, I'm going to be accused of being a PBC fanboy, but when you look at the PBC, the fighters are the face of the brand. They have them doing the analyst work. They're always doing interviews. Every time there's a show, they bring 2 or 3 of the fighters up at the desk. You don't see promoters talking. You see the fighters talking. Okay? This guy, he speaks for all his fighters. His fighters don't come out and speak for themselves. You had Joshua saying, I want to go back to America and do the rematch. And Eddie Hearn says he didn't want him to do it. I'm going to advise him not to. And he listened to Eddie Hearn. He's doing more interviews than the fighters are doing. Whereas you see Deontay Wilder, he's at every event. He's got a camera and a mic in front of his face everywhere he goes. That's why he became big, because he self-promoted himself. All these matchroom fighters, Eddie Hearn does the talking for them. He's the one that wants to get all the fucking exposure instead of putting the fighters out in front. And that's just, and this is another example of that. Why ain't the fighters going to be there? So.
Yeah, I would, and yeah, like I said, if they do announce this tomorrow, which we're assuming everything we've read points to that. But now they have and maybe they announce a signing different with Saunders. But if that's the case, and there's no fighters there or whatever, and he announces it, I think that's very fishy. That's not something we see every day. This is a big fight. It's a huge fight. Why not have both the fighters front and center? Hey, typically that's the way it goes. Typically that's the way it goes when we talk about press conferences and big fights and everything. It gets announced, the press, then you have that first-time presser, and you got those 2 guys front and center. Literally, right after that bout, after you hear it's announced, those 2 guys are front and center, and they're talking about it. Like I said, if he doesn't show up tomorrow, or it's just Eddie, then there's something going on here. I think there's some legitimacy to that contract not being signed. We don't know. Again, we don't know. We're not seeing it. We're not, and as far as that site fee goes, we've read reports where it's 70 million pounds, which is roughly $84 million. And that's what we read on the first day. Now Coppinger comes out and says it's 40. How he knows, I don't know.
Well, Bob Arum.
Sources. What sources?
Bob Arum.
Who knows?
Bob Arum has come out and said that whenever people talk about fights in Saudi, that he doesn't really trust them because they always say they're going to put the money up. And again, they've done events with WWE, right? I guess they did the Khan fight too, but
yeah, the Callum Smith Groves fight.
Callum Smith, the WBSS they did. So but they don't really have any blockbuster events there. You know what I mean? They don't do a lot of boxing there. They've done some. So I don't know if they're going to try to do more events there or not, but they just don't have a proven track record there.
You remember, and I think we talked about it on the last show I was with you on earlier in the week when we were talking about this whole subject of you got like I think it was Amir Khan and Manny Pacquiao when he said that the somebody over there was going to pay him a crazy amount of money to fight. Turns out it was all nonsense.
Yep.
You know, or maybe it was Pacquiao pursuing him.
Pacquiao versus Khan in fucking, was it Dubai or Saudi Arabia or some shit like that?
Something like that, yeah. And it was all nonsense. And, you know, it's not uncommon, but I think you have to go to the right people. You know, I mean, these people are claiming they're going to, whoever he's with, and I don't know who he's with, but they're claiming they're going to build a temporary structure and this and that. I know for the Formula One event, they had, I mean, that had to be on the up and up. You know, they had a racetrack and everything like that. I mean, they had to have everything, you know, laid out like it should with the rules. For the WWE, I know it looked like a soccer stadium or something like that. That place was packed. But, you know, it's a big stadium. The stadium was already there. They didn't build it. Here, they're going to, you know, build this temporary structure. I remember Klitschko talking about they wanted to stage the second Lennox Lewis fight. He wanted to rematch Lennox Lewis. And they were going to have it on a boat, like a big yacht kind of thing, you know, like this big cruise ship where they were going to box and it was only going to be like a handful of people watching them. You know, so they've said some crazy things over there, and they got a lot of guys with a lot of money that can entice, but can they actually pull through on the, you know, on the thing? And I guess, you know, the long and short is, wouldn't it be nuts if this was all nonsense? If they just try to like stick it to, you know what I mean? Like give him a false deal or something like that. I mean, that would be just insane.
With all of the negative publicity going on over there, like Eddie Hearn has to be a fool to fucking bring this fight over there.
It's kind of
it's a bad look on the sport.
Why would he go? Well, if it's only, just think about this for a minute, because we heard that if Ruiz is getting $9 million and the site fee is $40 million, well then that's not really that bad then. But if the site fee is $80 million, $84 million in US dollars, that makes a little bit more sense now. Why he would want to raise. So whoever said it was $40 million, I don't know. I mean, at that point, it's not a,
I was told,
you know, a bad.
When I was told they're supposed to be splitting up like $40 million of revenue. So if you take the 9 out of the 40, then Joshua's getting 32 or $33 million. And
but then you still have to split. You know, you have to all the cost of putting on that fight.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that what I've heard, and I don't know how true it is, but the fighters, the revenue left over for the fighters would be $40 million.
Okay,
so,
gotcha.
So gotcha. Then if Ruiz gets 9, then that's kind of still fucked.
Joshua gets 30.
That's still kind of fucked up.
Still kind of jacked up, yeah. Still kind of jacked up, you know. But I always heard the number that he was getting 34.
34, yeah.
Red. 34, and then Ruiz was getting 9. But then they were splitting. It was the $80 million on that site fee, or $84.
So $43 million, and Ruiz is getting 9.
Yeah.
So it's an 80-20 split, basically. That's bull. I mean, come on, like at least.
That's not. Yeah, that's not even mandatory.
I mean, that's what these guys don't understand. Like, again,
was 70-30 or 75-25?
75-25, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's just fucking ridiculous. So Rafael thinks it's cool to get a fucking 80-20 split. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, we took this right out of the, you know, when we got the 70 million, the 70 million pound figure, and it's $84 million. We got that out of quite a few. There was like 2 or 3 British news sites that had that, and even like reputable news sites.
Nice friggin' 80-20 split.
So
The challenge,
Right.
the challenge is getting 80%. I mean, come on, Raphael. Come on, man. I know you don't. I know you're not down with this, man. I know you're not down with this 80-20 split. Please, Raphael. No, you don't honor that type of contract. No. Not for a fight not when you're splitting $40 million. When you sign the contract, you have no way of knowing how much the second fight's going to be worth. And and that's exactly what a judge is going to say. Well, what did you base, Mr. Hearn? What did you base this $9 million guarantee off of for the second fight if you didn't know how much the second fight was worth? Eddie Hearn would get shredded. He would. No, a contract is not a contract.
Does anybody know what the first fight was? What was the split on the first fight?
Probably 90. He got 20, Joshua, and Ruiz got
Joshua
5.
got 20. What was it? 20 and 5, right?
A contract is not a contract. No, it's not. Contracts are broken. Contracts are challenged, and they're beaten every day in courtrooms. You think every time someone signs a contract, that means they've never... I signed a contract with Verizon, and I got out of my contract with Verizon. You know why? Because I had 4G, okay? They were guaranteeing me 4G. I had a 2-year contract, and every time I used my phone in this area, even with the 4G, I was still getting 2 gigabytes friggin' download. And I called them, and I explained that to them. And they let me out of the contract because, again, if you have 4G, you should be getting more than friggin' 2 down. Again, I signed a non-compete clause. We went over this. We went over all these things. I signed a non-compete clause where my boss said, or the company I work for said, that if I left the company, I couldn't work within a 50-mile radius. So if I got a job, I have to get a job 50 miles from the place that I last worked. That's what the non-compete said. I fucking went to court and I won. The judge said that was ridiculous. Contracts get beaten every day. I beat 2 contracts. I signed 2 contracts. I beat them. Same thing with unions. Union companies sign union contracts all the time. How many times do you see freaking union grievances? Because the company doesn't want to uphold, the union contract. That's why you have strikes. I mean, again, like, what world do you guys live in? What world? Why would there be contract lawyers if everyone just signed a contract and followed it? Then, why do we have contract lawyers?
Yeah, if contracts are all ironclad, then there's no.
Why do we have contract lawyers? Right? Explain to me why there's contract lawyers.
The point is, man, like, there's always,
George, you have no,
listen, man, you can't have a contract.
Georgie says more contracts get upheld in court than turned down. You have no way of knowing that. Why is that? So explain it to me. No, what you're saying is stupid. You have contract lawyers. Why? If everyone just followed their contract, then there would be no need for contract lawyers, would there? I mean, these guys are just ridiculous. Why isn't the... Okay, Ruiz signed a contract, right? Eddie Hearn and Joshua want the fight in Cardiff. He said no. So why isn't the fight in Cardiff if contracts are so ironclad? Why isn't the fight in why is the fight not in Cardiff then if Ruiz signed a contract? That's what I thought.
It is. All right, let's go to 760 California. 760, you're live.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Can you hear me?
Hey, what's happening, man?
Hey, I might be breaking up. I'm out here driving on this road, but hey, good to hear from you guys. You guys talking about.
I think this is Brian, and Brian, if you can hear me, you're actually we lost you, buddy. You're breaking up on us, so just give us a call back. There you go. All right, so there it is. Yeah. So when did this come out? Jason's telling me that. Yeah. Okay. So it came out today. Then letters from Team Rivas lawyers reveal Mike Fortel lawsuit. Boxing Scene is reporting that Oscar Rivas, his lawyers just sent lawyers to Eddie Hearn about the white thing. So I don't know, man. That's not looking good. Yeah, reported the A sample was taken July 25th. And there's been no mention of that B sample anywhere. And you know what? In D-Style had said in the chat or whatever, and he tried to explain or he actually did explain the A and B sample for those of you who don't know. The A sample, there's when you take a drug test, it's divided into two tubes, basically. So what they call an A sample and a B sample. They're both the same thing. They're both the same thing. So if one comes back bad, the other one's 99.9% going to come back bad, unless you made a mistake on the test. You know, the other thing too is that when these guys, and another thing too is that they don't have the names on them when they go to to production to get tested. They don't have names on them. They have numbers. They go by numbers there, not names. So they don't know, hey, this is Dillian White's test, or this is such and such's test, or this is, or at least that's how USADA works. So they don't know. So they're looking at numbers, not necessarily people. They don't know. So the thing is, man, I tell you, it's, and I don't blame, if we talk about Ruiz, if I'm a big fighter now, I think twice about going to England. And I know Bob Arum is really, about this Lomachenko fight. He's really worried about this Lomachenko-Campbell fight and about England and about how they do things over there. It's a little bit different and you know what, man, I don't blame him. And Beeb, if you're a big-time fighter right now, if you've got a championship and everything like that, would you go to England to defend it? I don't think I would.
I got a flat out there, too.
That's right. You got a flat out there and everything. Yeah,
I got a flat in Manchester.
There it is. Season tickets to Man United and everything, man. Look at that. Man City. All right. So since we're on the topic of contracts, let's move ahead here. Inoue versus Donaire. Naoya Inoue and Nonito Donaire set for November 7th in Japan. The bantamweight final of the World Boxing Super Series is now set. This should be just incredible, man. This is a really good fight. It's going to be in Saitama, Japan. And I think they've already been there before. And I tell you, like I said, it's going to be a good fight. But obviously Inoue should be the big favorite here. He's favored to win it all. There's nothing, Inoue really surprised me here because he had a stacked lineup in his division. And he went through everybody. He went through everybody quick. That Emmanuel Rodriguez fight, if you weren't a believer after the Payano fight, the Emmanuel Rodriguez fight had to make you a believer. He's the real deal. And he's special talent. I think he beats Donaire, and I think he beats him convincingly. And we'll see, man. But I'm really excited about it. I'm really, really excited about it. One thing I'm not excited about. Regis Prograis withdraws from the World Boxing Super Series. According to multiple sources, Prograis has decided to withdraw from the World Boxing Super Series, declaring there has been a wrongful conduct and broken promises. Regis Prograis had sued to withdraw from, is currently suing to withdraw from the World Boxing Super Series final and super lightweight titled unification fight against Josh Taylor. Attorneys for Prograis and his promoter Lou DiBella filed the suit in U.S. District Court in New Jersey on Friday. ESPN first reported the filing, which asked Prograis to be freed of his obligations to the WBSS. I think it's a really bad move. It's a bad move for Prograis. The contract appears to be, fairly ironclad given the fact that Ivan Baranchyk couldn't get out of it. I don't think Prograis is going anywhere. Beeb, let me ask you, is this a legitimate shot to pull out? Or is this kind of to put some fire under them saying, hey, get this fight made?
I think the big problem is the way the WBSS has mishandled this whole tournament in terms of, not getting these events organized properly, not paying the fighters on time, not paying the fighters what they're supposed to pay them. And it seems to be that there's some funny business going on behind the scenes in regards to, the Prograis fight with Kelly, from what DeBella is saying. So, I don't know the specifics of this, to be perfectly honest with you, but I know DeBella was complaining about how the WBSS does business, and he's not happy with it. And I guess they're concerned if Prograis is going to get, what he's supposed to get in this fight. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. I mean, DeBella's a smart man. He's a lawyer himself, so I'm sure, he wouldn't be trying to get out of this contract. I think he's trying to sue the WBSS, if I'm not mistaken, or counter sue or whatever the hell. I don't think that he would be putting up this fight like this if he didn't think he could win the case, because he's pretty smart when it comes to law. So
yeah, it is unfortunate because number one, that's a great fight. But number two, Baranchek couldn't get out of this.
Yeah.
And he's got the same. Yeah. They all got the same contract. He's not going anywhere. I am 100% confident he ain't going nowhere. He's fighting. So
you think it's going to happen then?
Yeah, it's just a bad look. Joel Lopez, we already covered my favorite fighter, Chavez Jr. earlier. First round knockout, my boy. But it's a terrible look for him because you're pulling out of a title unification fight. This is a big fight. And a lot of people think he's going to win. Whether he does or doesn't is immaterial. It's a big fight. That being said, man, I'll tell you what, man, they have really screwed this tournament. What is it? Camosa AG, I believe, who's putting this on, really is screwing this tournament up big time. And I know Sauerland is part of it as well. It's just their inability to get sites. The promotion for this has not been great. And it should be. These are great fights. It's the best tournament, one of the best tournaments we've ever seen in boxing. So, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
From this day, you'll be my new fool.
Hey, yo! What's happening, people? It's cracky lacking. A lot of contracts out there. What's going on? Let's get some rounds in. What you want, Eric? You want some, or I'll go straight to Beebs?
I'll go. Let's do it. What you got?
Oh, you want some too?
You got nothing. Nothing.
I got logic. He's got emotion. I got logic. He's got emotion.
Nigga, you ain't got shit. Let me.
You got emotion.
Give me a minute.
You're emotional. I'm logical.
Give me a minute so I can.
The head always wins over the heart. The head always wins over the heart, brother. You know that, brother.
All right, so let's dissect this. Let me burn. We gotta get some facts straight here. There is no way of the multiple amount of contracts between multiple amount of entities, business. And I'm not talking with all due respect, Beebs, about no the rights of fucking contract that they on their side fucking you giving lower speed. That's why the judge side with you, because they infringe the contract. But that's okay, because you answer your own shit right there, if you give it some thought. If the judge sees the party that is not gratifying the contract, he's going to side with him. That's why we got so many contracts out there. There is no way that anybody can come here and say that most contracts are not upheld in a court of law. That's insanity.
I didn't say most contracts.
I don't know what
I didn't say most contracts. I said some contracts. In my case.
But that's
wait. Let me finish.
One at a time.
Let me finish,
guys.
I can only speak for myself. I challenged 3 contracts in my life because I had a problem with Comcast. I challenged 3 contracts in my life, and I won. I'm batting 1,000. Fuck the world. I care about Beeb. I don't give a fuck about everybody else. All I know is Andy Ruiz is not going to Cardiff. That's all I know. So he's not following the contract.
But the reason
he's not following the contract.
If I can reply, Ruiz is obligated to whatever the contract says.
He is.
That's number one.
In theory,
now,
he is. Yes.
In paper, in black and white. What the
You're
law
right.
says.
In theory, you're right. In the perfect world, you're right. In a perfect world, you're right. But we don't live in a perfect world, and theories don't always hold up.
In a mathematical world, where 2 plus 2 is fucking 4.
That's not what this is about. This ain't about arithmetic, brother. This ain't about arithmetic, brother. This is about law.
What do you mean?
This ain't black and white. This is
even
great.
have this compensation.
This is great.
Let me burn. If we don't have numbers, content numbers, if we don't have a rule, we don't have internet. We don't have nothing. There is nothing. There's no technology, nothing. There must be that bullshit that is my opinion. They gotta stop them some way, somehow gotta stop. They have to be in accord of what's real. And what's real is that Eddie got some power and the upper hand of the situation. That's when what court refers. Now, if we talk about the moral ground.
What about the belts?
Let me finish, brother.
What about the belts?
If we're talking about the moral ground, fuck Saudi Arabia.
No you're going to use morality in the same sentence as Eddie Hearn? You're going to use the word morality with the same sentence as Eddie Hearn? Are you serious? Are you going to do that?
Yes, you know why?
This guy just fucking put a doped up boxer in the ring. He just put a doped up boxer in the ring and didn't tell the other side. And you're going to use morality in the same sentence?
Yes, Beeb. Yes, I understand that, but I don't fight you on that.
Oh.
Let me finish, brother. Let me finish. I never fight you on that. Because on day one, I always come here telling you that they're all the same. All the same mafia. I don't believe on Bada. I don't believe on Eddie. I don't believe on fucking Bob. I don't believe on Al. I don't believe on none of them.
Ruiz is doing what they're doing.
That's not the issue.
Ruiz is doing the same thing
they're doing. I'm doing? I'm telling you what the law says I do. It's not that I'm favoring Eddie. I'm talking to you about facts and reality. And somehow you want to try to see that Ruiz can make something happen out of this. He will fuck up his career if he don't get in line. And I bet anything, 6 months from now, somebody's going to be right about this. And I put anything on the line that if this nigga don't fight him, Eddie's going to fuck him up on court. And I'm going to get fucked up too. Straight up.
That's what you want to happen, but it ain't going to happen.
You don't have to be no rocket scientist to see this.
Emotion over logic over emotion. You're debating me with emotion, bro. This is what. Don't tell me what you want to happen. Tell me what is going to happen.
I'm not telling you.
Why is the fight not in Cardiff?
You want to bet?
Explain to me why the fight is not in Cardiff.
Do you want to bet yes or no, Beeb?
Explain to me why the fight is not in Cardiff. Explain to me why the fight.
What you said don't matter. What I said don't matter. What will happen in the next 6 months is not going to matter.
Why is the fight not in Cardiff? Explain to me why the fight's not in Cardiff.
I told you on the Shatri all the time. Ruiz wants to get out of the fucking
No, he doesn't want to get out of the contract. He wants to fight on what he believes is fair terms.
Did he say he want to go to Mexico?
When did he say I don't want to fight Joshua? When did Ruiz? Tell me when Ruiz said he did not want to fight Joshua. Tell me when Ruiz said he didn't want to fight Joshua. When did Ruiz say I don't want to fight Joshua? When? When did he say that?
Why that gotta be the question? Why that gotta be the question? What would the question will be? Why he saying? No, but listen, you don't want to listen. What the question can be? Why he saying he wanted to fight on New York? He wanted to fight on Mexico. He don't want to fight on Saudi Arabia. When most of these shit's already on the contract.
So you condone a fight being held
I'm not condoning
in that country.
People get bombed
In that
every
country.
day. I'm not
You
down
condone
with
that.
bombing. I
You
don't
condone
want to fucking
that.
see nobody die. But people die every day. I'm not condoning shit. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm telling you who got the better chance
Bullshit.
of winning the fucking argument on court.
Bullshit. Logic.
What the fuck is so complicated, Beeb?
Logic versus emotion.
Dude, cause you fucking stubborn. You stubborn as fuck.
Why
That is not the reason by Eddie Hearn.
why
We
is-
know about Eddie Hearn. Enough of fucking Eddie Hearn. What about the WBC mafia?
Luis has leverage
What
too.
about the fucking Halo?
Luis
What
has
about the
leverage
fucking
too.
Heyman?
The fight would
Enough
be.
already, the
Guys, I
fucking
can't
Hearn.
understand
Luis
either one of
has
you guys.
leverage too, or the fight would be in Cardiff. Luis has leverage. The belts are leverage. The belts are leverage. Joshua doesn't get the belts back. His career is over. Joshua doesn't get the belts back. His career is over.
Yes, that's
I would
fine,
argue-
whatever, yes,
I would argue-
yes,
let me jump in here,
yes, right.
Georgie.
But it's not only Eddie.
Georgie.
There's many villains out here, many of them. And you only focus in the same motherfucker. Every week, boom, Eddie this, boom, Eddie that, boom, Eddie this. What about the rest of them? Give me one video about Give me one video about the WBC Mafia. I'm sick of Eddie shit. Shout out to the UK.
Man, that's straw man.
It's Strowman.
Georgie.
What the fucking video count is, Beeb? How many videos have you done about what the WBC has done? Make the count. What the fucking percentage?
WBC
It's
belt.
like 200,000 videos against
Are we
Eddie.
talking about the WBC? Josh?
20,000.
WBC belt. Luis don't have the
It's
WBC.
getting ridiculous. Leave him alone.
Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead, Eric.
Yo, but anyways, everybody out there, support the channel. I gotta go.
Bye.
I lose my fucking voice.
Love you, brother.
And I call you next week. Yo, Eric.
Go get yourself a glass of ice water now.
Video.
Go get yourself a glass of ice
Yo,
water.
Eric.
All right, Georgie.
Make sure you get your blood pressure.
Georgie has spoken. High blood pressure on that one. Let me ask you a question, Beeb, because you said that Joshua definitely needs the belts, and I agree with that. I think that Ruiz has something that he wants, and a la in the case of Charles Martin, you're probably going to have to pay for him now. But let's say this does go to court, and let's say, just for giggles here, it does go to court. Those belts will get
That's what I'm
stripped,
saying.
and Joshua will have a chance to get
Exactly.
the belt back. Doesn't mean anything.
That's
Well,
what I'm trying
he'll
to
be the
say. He
champion
won't
of the
be looked at
IBF
as,
or whatever it is.
he'll be looked
but
at as a paper champion unless he beats Ruiz. If the fight that
Ruiz will
it's
be,
a no-win,
yeah,
it's a
Ruiz
no-win
will be the guy.
situation for them right now.
Even if Ruiz gets stripped of all the belts, right now Ruiz is
He's
still
the,
the
he's
guy.
the man.
That's just it. Yeah.
Listen, Joshua's the A side. Eddie Hearn is
Yes,
the house promoter. Joshua's going to get more money than Ruiz. Okay? No one's questioning that. But when you sit down with somebody, right? Even though you have leverage over them, right? Whenever you go do a deal with somebody, one side never gets 100% what they want. Never.
Right.
Even Mayweather, when he wanted Maidana to wear them gloves, he had to pay him a $1.5 million to make him wear those gloves. Remember that?
Yeah.
So everybody makes concessions. So that's what these guys don't understand. Where does Joshua go, Raphael? Where does Joshua go if Ruiz gets stripped of those belts? He'll be looked at as the guy that never avenged his loss. And
No, I completely. Raphael Dawkins said if Ruiz gets stripped of the belt,
That's
he goes
bullshit.
back to Bum City. Now I
he
completely
beat
disagree with that.
Joshua. That's
beat the
history
guy.
that will never be erased.
Yeah, he beat the guy. And if he goes and fights Wilder, and Wilder beats him, there's no question that Wilder will be looked at in the court of public opinion. He will be looked at as the guy, as the legitimate heavyweight
If Joshua
champion.
does not beat Ruiz, he will no longer be in the conversation. He won't.
There you go.
No longer.
Area code 805.
Hey
You're
guys,
live.
what's up? It's doing. Yeah. As far as the I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of having a hard time trying to figure that whole thing out. But as far as Ruiz is concerned, but it'll be interesting to see if they don't try to sue him if he did sign a contract or didn't sign a contract. I mean, I can't see them having given him the first fight without having signed the agreement saying that he was already in for the rematch. I mean, I agree. He does deserve a bigger piece of it, but at the same time, I mean, he is getting a career high payday. It's not like they're completely lowballing him. In my view, I mean, a $10 million payday is still a lot more money than he's ever seen. But I mean, if he wants 20 and he thinks he can get it, hey, more power to him. I just don't see how exactly that's going to work out exactly. But I mean, you know, we'll see what happens with that whole situation.
So it's going to have to get worked out if they want the fight to happen.
I mean, it'll just, like I said, Beeb, I can't imagine that Hearn's lawyers wouldn't have written an ironclad contract for him to be able to just wiggle out of it.
Well,
I mean, that's really the only thing I'm...
But Notch, if the contract was so ironclad, why is the fight not in Cardiff, and why has the fight not been announced yet, officially? Like why is the fight not in Cardiff? Why is the fight not in Cardiff if the contract is so ironclad? No contract is. There's no such thing as an ironclad contract. There really isn't. I'm just being honest.
But at the same time, there can be a contract. No, I understand that. But at the same time, there can be a contract where there's not a whole lot of loopholes either. So unless he has some sort of loophole to get out of it, I mean, I can't just imagine
I'm not saying he's going to get out of the contract.
He's going to be able to walk away.
He signed a contract to fight him. He signed a contract. He signed a contract to rematch him. Okay, all these other stipulations and stuff that can be interpreted in a number of different ways. And these little things are always challenged in a contract. That's why you have what's called negotiations. If this thing was so ironclad and Hearn had as much control of the situation as he's trying to say that he does, this fight would be in Cardiff right now. There's no question about it. There's no question about it. It would be in Cardiff. It's irrefutable.
But then at the same time, if someone's ponying up a huge amount of money to make the fight happen, does that not necessarily win out as well? I mean, because they're saying that they put up $100 million for the site fee.
No, they did. They said they put up 40. They said they put up 40 million. They said they put up 40 million for the site fee, not 100. What if the zone?
I mean,
then
Coppinger must be.
Coppinger said 40 million.
Then Coppinger was the one that. No, I saw a tweet. He put out a tweet where they were saying that the reports were saying that it was $100 million.
No, not the one.
He put it out. I didn't put it out.
Coppinger has double talked this entire week. This entire weekend.
Coppinger put out like 4 different figures.
So, right.
Oh, okay.
And he's gonna, he's bound to hit the wall and make it stick.
What he's playing, he's like spinning. He's spinning the roulette wheel, and whatever the ball falls on, that's the number. That's what he's doing. That's what he's always done.
I'll take 15, 20, 25.
That's what he's always done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because the first few tweets I saw, he kept saying that number, so I didn't see anything else after that.
Oh, what you guys are saying, all of you guys that are talking about the contract, okay? From an ethical standpoint, you're 110% correct. But in the court of law, ethics gets pushed to the back burner, and it's all about, what you can prove, what you can't prove, who has the stronger case is the person that's going to win. Okay? So if contract law was so simple, then you wouldn't have so many people getting sued over contracts. because everyone that signed a contract would just follow it if it was that simple. But it's never that simple. We have situations like this in boxing all the time. And we're going to continue that situation like this in boxing all the time. It's just not that simple. There's a lot of gray area involved in this, and that's why this whole process has been so complicated and dragged out. It's just not that black and white. Oh, everyone, he signed a contract, and that's the end of it. If it were that simple, then we would no one would ever get sued, though. No, they would never be we'd have no need for contract lawyers. No one would ever get sued, and everything would just be so simple. But that's not the case. It's just in theory and ethically, I understand exactly what you guys are saying, but that's not what it's always all about. Ethically, O.J. Simpson should be in jail right now, but he won. The jury said he was not guilty. 99.9% of the people in the country think he's guilty, but that jury did not. So ethically, the wrong thing was done, but legally, the right thing was done. So you have the ethical side and you have the legal side. So it is what it is. Go ahead. I don't mean to hijack your call. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that whole situation. Just getting to the fights. Ortiz looked really good last night, taking on Orozco. I didn't think that Orozco was going to be able to hang with him, but he did, and he actually gave him a test, and he was very, he looked good in there in taking out Orozco, who took, Jose Ramirez 12 rounds, and he couldn't get him out of there. So it was pretty impressive that Ortiz was able to stop him in 6 rounds and get him out of there. But what I found interesting was about how he said after the fight that he wasn't very satisfied with his performance. And that says a lot about how good he thinks he can be. So I'm glad that he came out and he was honest about his performance, and he didn't say that he felt like he didn't have anything else to work on, because I still think there are certain things he can work on to get even better. But he still had a really good performance last night, and it'll be interesting to see who they can put in front of him now that he says he's staying at welterweight, because they don't have a whole lot of guys in their stable. So it'll be interesting to see who they can bring in to fight him at 47. And in the ESPN card, Haskell's corner did him no favors last night. Jason Sosa was teeing off on that poor guy practically the entire fight. He took him apart really easily, and I couldn't believe that they would just kept letting the dude go out there to keep getting beat up, and until finally the 7th round, when he just completely got overwhelmed. At that point was when they finally decided to stop the fight. But man, that poor dude just kept getting beat up, and I don't know what they were waiting on, because Sosa was just taking him apart the entire fight. And I mean, I think Sosa will probably get another big payday, which he deserves, and we'll see what happens. The Edgar Berlanga dude, he knocked out his guy, which I figured he would. That guy that they put in there had no business being in there with him. But Top Rank's got to get somebody in there that can actually take this kid some rounds, because knocking people out in the first round isn't going to help him get any better. I mean, because eventually he's going to face somebody who's going to be able to take his punches, and then at that point he has to figure out, well, I can't knock this guy out. What do I do? So I hope they find somebody.
He's got like 12 first-round knockouts or something like that?
Yeah.
He's got 12 fights. Something crazy?
Yeah, it's 12 fights in a row that he's knocked out. They were showing a graphic where he's like the first guy in history to knock out his first 12 opponents in a row. And they had this list of like different guys like Mike Tyson and like George Foreman, and I was like, wow. But I mean, yeah, I think he just needs some better competition, because that dude he had yesterday, he had no business being in there. That guy looked like he was like out of his league going against him, some small junior middleweight that they threw in there, and that guy just got run over. But the kid looks like he's got talent, and hopefully they'll find somebody who
eventually will, give him some rounds and stuff because that's what he needs. And then you guys were talking about Ramirez. That's what I was going to say, Ramirez.
On him?
I just think he came in completely overconfident, to be honest with you, because, like, in the first round, he just literally looked like he had this look on his face like, I'm not really worried about this guy. I think I'm going to beat him. And then as soon as the kid dropped him and he, the ref was counting, at that point he was just completely thrown off. He was like, whoa, like, what just happened? And after that, his opponent just got completely full of confidence, and he never stopped coming, and he kept attacking him, and Ramirez just looked like he didn't know what to do. His corner didn't give him any kind of instructions to try to get him focused back on, being in the fight. And, he got beat, plain and simple. I just can't believe that one judge gave him the fight. Like, I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, he got completely outclassed. Yeah, he got completely outclassed. There's no way that he won the fight, and I was just stunned. But, I mean, they were saying last night, Juan Manuel Marquez and Bernard Hopkins both lost their debuts, and they became Hall of Famers. Yeah. So I don't think one loss makes his kid's career, but he definitely has to get someone in there who can actually teach him how to fight in a pro style, because he literally looked like he was still stuck in that amateur style of just trying to, hit guys and then just, hold and then move a lot. And he didn't really have a whole lot behind his punches. So, yeah, he's got to find that.
I'll interject the Hopkins thing with this. The Hopkins and who was the other guy you mentioned?
Juan Manuel Marquez.
Not Eric Morales. Juan Manuel. All right, so I'll interject it with this. Neither one of those two came in with the hype of Ramirez, and neither one of those two were fed guys that they were supposed to beat.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what they did on this top rank. There's no way this guy was supposed to beat him. This guy wasn't even supposed to last rounds with this guy.
They put him on a silver platter.
This is a confidence fight. And I guarantee Bernard Hopkins or Juan Manuel Marquez didn't have that kind of first fight. They went in there with guys that were just as good as they were, or just making their debuts too. They did not get a cakewalk, so to say, like they were giving this guy. And it turns out they misjudged it. He wasn't such a cakewalk after all,
Yeah, no, you're right. As far as the level of skill that this kid is supposed to have in comparison to them, yeah, you're totally right. This was a setup fight to make him look good, and it backfired. It blew up in his face. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about
Absolutely.
that. But, I mean, it'll be interesting to see.
Real quick before I let you go.
Yeah.
Real quick before I let you go, let me ask you, what were your thoughts on Canelo and Golden Boy, that whole situation? I heard they met with attorneys on Monday and all that other good stuff. What's your take on this? Because I know you're a big Canelo guy and Golden Boy guy and that kind of thing.
That's Jason talking. That ain't you, Eric. Come on now. I mean, I respect Canelo, but I'm not. But
you like the Mexican fighters, and yeah.
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I respect the guy, but I'm not sitting here saying I'm his number one fan either. But
no, that's not what I mean. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
No, I know. The only thing I can say about that is, from everything I've read, where they tried to make the fight against Dimitrenko, but Dimitrenko felt like the offer they made for the fight wasn't exactly what he thought he deserved. I just kind of thought that was just Lou DiBella and Dimitrenko game in the system, because they basically were trying to use Danny Jacobs as the starting point of what kind of money Dimitrenko should get for this fight against Canelo. And I think that's not a fair comparison, because Jacobs is a former champion, and at the time when he fought Canelo, he actually had a belt as well. So he had more of a resume than Dimitrenko had going into that fight. And also Eddie Hearn, who is part of the whole DAZN thing, he probably pitched in a significant chunk of that purse. So for people to assume that Canelo and Golden Boy paid him the entire reported $15 million that he got, I don't think that's right. I think they gave him a certain amount, and then Eddie Hearn probably chipped in the rest. But DiBella and Dimitrenko were expecting somewhere in the ballpark of $10 million or more for the fight. And I don't necessarily blame Canelo for saying, like, why would I give you $10 million when your promoter is not going to put any kind of money into your purse, and I have to take a pay cut from DAZN in order to make this fight happen. So there was a lot of factors that, played into it. I think that pissed off Canelo from that standpoint, in that he felt like Dimitrenko was, way out of overvaluing himself as far as getting that fight. And then what's funny is right after they strip him of the belt and DeBella starts negotiating with Golovkin and his team, Golovkin offers him the exact same amount that Canelo offered him, and he took that amount. So it just seems kind of funny how that whole thing worked out, in that they went and asked for this outrageous figure, they didn't get it, and they basically forced the IBF to strip him of the belt. And then at that point, they went and negotiated with Golovkin, and they got the exact same amount that Canelo was offering from jump. So there's just something kind of fishy about the whole thing. But, I don't blame the guy for being upset, in that he felt like he was going to have to take a pay cut to fight a guy who was bringing nothing to the table other than being a mandatory. So at the end of the day, he has the right to say, no, I'm not going to take a pay cut just to fight this dude. I was guaranteed a certain amount of money per fight, and I'm not, taking less money in order to get a fight with this dude, in front of me. So it's his prerogative, but it'll definitely be interesting going forward what Golden Boy does as far as that's concerned, because it sounds like he's like not necessarily happy with what they're doing, and I don't know if they're going to be able to rein him back in. It sounds kind of like he thinks he's his own promoter at this point. So unless they can figure out a way to get this whole situation sorted out, it'll definitely be interesting to see if Canelo doesn't try to eventually, try to see if he can, get out of Golden Boy possibly not being his promoter, because at this point he might feel like he's got all the cards. He might feel like he's got all the cards in his favor, and we'll see what happens. But the whole situation, I just feel like, he felt like he didn't want to overpay a guy who he didn't feel was worth that kind of money. Plain and simple. I just find it funny how people are trying to act like he was ducking Dimitrenko or something, because it didn't sound like he was. He was willing to make the fight.
No.
I just think he was upset that he had to take a pay cut, and also that Dimitrenko was asking for this outrageous figure. It was like he wanted a lottery ticket. So you can't blame him for being upset about that. But that's my take, guys. I know you guys got other people waiting, right, and I'll see you guys next week. All right.
All right, man.
Peace out, Nacho.
Good stuff. 901. This is H Money, I believe. 901, you're live. Or maybe you're not. 901, you're live. Okay. All right. No H Money tonight then. How about that? Beeb?
Oh, well.
Put him on. He goes radio silent.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Nothing I can do. Hey, we're silent in the chat too. So, hey, there you go. All right. Let's see here where we leave off here. All right. Wait a second here. He calls right back here. All right. Let's see. 901, you're live. Quickly.
Hey, yo, what's going on? It's your boy H Money, Mr. DAZN. And I want to talk about Vergil Ortiz with a spectacular performance last night. He improved his record to 14 wins and 14 knockouts. He's definitely a Mexican star in the making. Moving up to 147 pounds, he is one of the biggest names on DAZN. And let's just think about the DAZN roster real quick. As far as Mexican fighters, you have Canelo Alvarez, Ryan Garcia, Juan Francisco Estrada, Jaime Munguia, WBO world champion at 21 years old. Let's not forget about Andy Ruiz, who DAZN has under contract for his next fight.
PBC's under contract.
Yeah, who's under contract for his next fight. Yeah, he's not going anywhere. He can try to run. He can try to hide. But guess what? You got to fight, buddy. You signed the contract. You know he's trying to duck. He tried to duck the UK. I mean, is he scared of getting knocked out like Hasim Rahman in the rematch against Lennox Lewis, which was the biggest upset in the history of boxing at the time? What about Buster Douglas not even defending his title, getting knocked out by Evander Holyfield? Buster Douglas, in the history of boxing, every time a heavyweight makes a big upset, they always lose the next fight. That's why Andy Ruiz is trying to make 1,000 of fucking excuses not to fight Anthony Joshua. Like I said, you could run, but you can't hide. You signed the contract. You were so happy to get your biggest payday, begging Eddie Hearn, texting Eddie Hearn for the fight. So happy, so humble. What happened to that? You know you're gonna lose. That's why he knows he's gonna lose again. Outboxed by Joseph Parker, dominated by Joseph Parker, Andy Ruiz. Okay, he's gonna lose, man. He's not in shape. He's talking about going on a diet. He's busy buying cars and dogs and mansions. What about training? Just like Buster Douglas, not training, getting knocked out by Evander Holyfield. Or what about Oliver McCall when he fought against Lennox Lewis? You guys remember when Oliver McCall knocked out Lennox Lewis? What happened in the rematch? Lennox Lewis had him crying like a bitch. He had him crying in the ring like a bitch. All right, so I know my boxing, and hey, I'm just saying, man, Nestor Gibbs of the Boxing Voice is a fucking rat. He's a snitch, and he.
All right, there we go. You're done, buddy. You're done. Hey, listen, I don't know what you do on other shows, but listen, man, we don't come on here and trash people on the calls. We don't trash people. We don't take personal attacks against people, that kind of thing. So that's just not something we do here, man. So take it somewhere else, all right? D-Style, I believe this is D-Style, 915. You're live.
What's going on, guys? How's it going?
What's happening, man?
Doing good, man.
First of all, all right?
Good luck following that call, you know.
Let me say something about the whole contract thing. And but by the way, it's not true that every heavyweight that pulls an upset loses his next fight. Ali pulled an upset against Sonny Liston. I think he's probably the best heavyweight of all time after that win. Okay, as far as the career he had. So that's not even true. All right. With that said, though, that's factually wrong. But I do want to say, when it comes to this contract thing, I just don't know what people don't understand. Like, let me give you an example right now. Lennox Lewis had a quote-unquote rematch clause against Rahman, okay? Even in that case, where Rahman flat out did not want to fight Lewis, it wasn't about the side, it wasn't about the money, okay? It was about he just didn't want to fight him. Don King wanted to set up that Tyson fight, right? But even in that situation, okay, even there where the guy flat out didn't want to fight him, the judge gave Rahman two options. He said either you sit out for 18 months or you fight the guy. Those were his options. A judge would wipe his ass with all the clauses that they have on their contract. Okay? They would wipe their ass with that.
90 seconds.
Period. They cannot enforce that. And they couldn't even enforce it 100% in the Rahman case. What makes you think they're going to enforce it in this case? Right? I'm just saying, I know it's probably like a PG-13 thing here, but a judge will wipe his ass with half of those clauses Eddie Hearn has. All right? But with that said, that rhymed, by the way. But anyway, Ortiz Jr., man, how about that
60 seconds.
That left hook to the body is one of the best in boxing right now. I was a little worried for about 2 rounds, but I did expect Orozco, a veteran, to give him a lot of trouble. Orozco's been there with some, tough companies, never been stopped, by the way. All right? He came to fight, but, man, Ortiz stopped this guy. Ramirez didn't stop Orozco. I want you guys to just think about that right now. Not even Ramirez did that.
You look good, man.
He hurt him to the body, bro, and And I think he might have taken him out early, but I think he got a little excited when he heard him in the first round, and then he was just kind of looking for that one big shot. Once he just went back to setting up the shots again, he got him in trouble, and he got him out of there. The combinations. The thing about Robert Garcia fighters, man, you never know what combinations they're going to throw. Good trainer, man. Good trainer. You agree with that? One of the best body punches.
He looked good, man. I liked his pressure from start to finish. He looked really good in that fight, really solid. Where do you think he goes from here?
No rush. I really hope they don't just throw him out there. There's no rush right now. Take your time, man. A fight I've been thinking about, put him in it with a Chris Algieri. I like to see that fight. That's like that level of opposition. Personally, I wouldn't. I'm not already seeing people talking about spins and all that. Like chill, okay, chill with all that. Okay, or maybe a Figueroa. I think Figueroa will be a pretty good fight for him as well.
That's not a bad.
What about John Molina?
Those Algieri or
John Molina?
John Molina needs to retire, bro. That dude's taking so much punishment. That's got to go. That's my opinion.
I would like to see him a couple more fights before he steps into the big time, though. Yeah.
But I just wanted to say that, man, that thanks again for having me on. Support Ringside Reporter. And by the way, throw a jab at that like button. I'm out, guys.
Oh, thank you so much, man. We appreciate it. Appreciate all the support from you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I like all those fights. I like Algieri. I like Figueroa. Those are two very winnable fights. I think he would be favored either one of those fights.
Like workman-like type fights for him, yeah.
Yeah, I just want to see him fight a couple more, get to the 17-0 mark before he starts fighting.
No, I agree with you. I agree.
Because I don't want him rushed at all, man. You got something here. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So there you go. Our train wreck of the week this week. It's not called the Adrian Bronner train wreck of the week for nothing. Adrian Bronner continues his winning ways in our train wreck of the week here. Adrian Bronner retires again. Bronner took to social media to retire. He said, "I'm retiring. Boxing is a lonely sport. I'm done with this blank. Give me a brick and let me turn it into 8 with some fit." P-H-Y-T, Beeb? What does that mean?
He's trying to sell like a fucking something to do with drugs, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, something like that. He also wrote. Let's see here. He also wrote in another post, "I am done with boxing and this fake blank business. I will die a real N-word before I let an MF blank me over or play me. Hashtag back to the streets. Hashtag no cap." There you go. Raphael says it's drug talk.
That's what I just said. It's drug talk.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's Bronner. That's Bronner. He is a time. You know what's funny is that like an hour before this, he called out Regis Prograis, and Prograis said he answered him and he retired an hour later. Oh my goodness. H Money. I don't know what part of. What part of what I told you didn't understand. But if you do it again, I'm going to pull you out permanently. Enough's enough. All right?
I mean, if someone's got a beef with somebody, don't bring it here, man. I mean, this.
Why would you bring it here?
We got nothing to do with that. The shit, I mean, we're not about that, bro. We're just not about. We got too much positivity over here, man.
Right. Go do it somewhere else.
I'm throwing.
Why not go to the source? If you have a problem with the source,
go deal with them, man.
If I have a problem with Beeb, I'm not going to go.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying. You got a problem with somebody. Right. You go, you go freaking see that person. You square up with that person.
Right.
We want to square up with a 50-year-old guy with freaking bad knees and a fucked up shoulder and arthritis in both elbows. Leave me alone, bro. I'm retired, man. I'm ready for the glue factory. Damn, man.
Dana White hopes to have Zuffa boxing up by October. He's hired. Tony, thank you so much. He said, good show, fellas. Much appreciated. We appreciate it. Thank you for the support. Dana White has hired an executive to run the boxing side of things on Zuffa. His plan is to get the up-and-coming fighters and have the best fight the best. So I'll be interested to see, what he can do. He's already doing some stuff on that UFC channel. He's already signed Roy Jones, his promotion and stuff like that. They're already putting up some fights, so it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. Carl Frampton, a very close second for Train Wreck of the Week this week. Apparently, he was in a hotel, and somebody knocked over a concrete pillar. I don't know what this means. I can only assume that it's a statue or something, okay? Knocked over a concrete pillar, which came crashing down from behind him through a curtain. The pillar landed on Frampton's left hand, which was resting on a small table. It's not
the
funny.
Freakiest thing I've ever heard. When I was reading this, I was like, what the fuck?
I was like, what is going on here? Frampton suffered a fractured fifth metacarpal bone. I'm not a doctor, so I'm assuming that's something in your hand.
Middle
and a cut to his left hand. Yeah, and he was forced to withdraw from this fight. So, yeah, how about that one? Heather Hardy and Amanda Serrano set for September 13th on DAZN. I'll tell you what, man, that's a good fight. That's not a bad fight. I like it. It's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Not bad. All right, guys, that'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1 and find our YouTube channel at ringsidereporterlive.com. I'm at Ringside73 on Twitter, and we will see you next week.